We got Mike Gill in the green room. Let's go to our main man right now. Mike Gill joining the show at Mike Gill Show. You can follow him and listen to him at 97.3 ESPN down the shore, 97.5 on the weekends. Mike Gill, welcome in on a Wednesday edition. The world traveling Mike Gill. How you doing this morning, brother?
Yeah,
man. I'm
back from a scouting mission in Lisbon, Portugal, and Prague. Did you see any good players over there, Mike?
I don't think they had the slightest idea what we're talking about, right? Yeah. Probably not. But I did hear the Samuel Jackson joke, and I gave a chuckle.
All right, there we go. Thanks. Two for two. Xander, not paying attention.
I want to say, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys, I was in the Wawa down in Summers Point the other night, and the guy says, did I tell you this? I listen to you all the time, and I'm thinking on the radio, and no, it was here on.
Nice. There we go.
I love it. I think, John, didn't we have somebody reach out that say they were in Lisbon or?
Yeah.
I had somebody email me. I don't remember if it was for Prague or Portugal, which one it was, but gave me some places and tips to do while I was there.
Nice. Very good.
When I went to Thailand, people from the viewers, I had a bunch of people reach out. Apparently, there's a lot of military.
Yeah, well, they can't stop laughing about it.
They're still talking about Thailand.
They think Thailand is just a land of ladyboys. Like there's not normal society in Thailand.
Oh, man.
Right.
There is normal society in Thailand.
It was tremendous. Everybody should try it.
Yeah. Well, we have a bunch of immature viewers as well, Mike. But yeah,
I can. I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm doing the morning show up in Philly like the next Thursday, Friday, Monday. So I'm like getting myself. I've been awake since like 5 o'clock, trying to get myself ready to get up that early because I got to get up at 4 the next couple days, and so I'm already I'm doing 2 shows there. I'm doing the morning show in Philly and then my show down in Atlantic City Thursday and Friday.
Where are you doing the morning show?
On the Fanatic on Thursday and Friday.
Very good, very good. Make sure you guys tune in for Mike. Don't turn off Birds 365, but you can put both on. Put on the radio and put on YouTube for Birds 365.
Yeah, so I'm like practicing getting up early, but I'm going to be doing 2 4-hour shows, so 8 hours of radio the next couple. Actually, I'm off on Monday, so I'm only doing the morning show.
All right, nice. So a couple opportunities to listen to our buddy Mike Gill. You should take advantage of it. We'll take advantage of it right now. The cut to the initial 53. Biggest surprise to you, Mike? Is there one?
I don't think there's like there wasn't like the move that you were like, holy mackerel. Like, I would say as maybe that they got rid of both Avery Williams and Anais Smith. And yesterday, Nick kind of indicated like we have a plan, but we're not going to tell you what it is with the punt.
He does that a lot, by the way.
Right. So I guess the fact that they don't really have a clear-cut punt returner, Dotson and Cooper DeJean have done it. I can't imagine Devontae Smith has done it as well. I can't imagine they want a full season of Cooper being the punt returner, but
I do. I'm like the only one. I'm like,
okay.
What? Well, who cares? Is there this data that I don't know about that makes punt returning more dangerous than anything else?
No, but you know how these teams are like overly cautious with stuff. Like I agree
with that. I'm just pushing back against that over caution. I'm like, if it's good enough for Deion Sanders, it's good enough for Cooper DeJean. Deion did it for years. Brian Westbrook did it for years here.
Yeah.
Deshaun Jackson did it. I mean, the mentality of football has changed. You're right, Mike. But this is one where you can say modern sports is getting it wrong. It's like
I agree with you. I agree with you. I just feel like these teams just don't want to. They don't want to risk.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So that would be the one. Anais Smith and Avery Williams both not making it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I did not see a long snapper on there.
No, Charlie got cut, but that's just they're trying to save a spot. They're going to bring him back today. And they did that once in the past with Rick Lovato. So that's that. He's vested. You don't have to worry about somebody claiming him.
Gotcha.
You can put him in the hotel and bring him back the next day. That's all that's about.
Yeah, or outside of that, I don't think there was really anything. I mean, I guess if you were mildly surprised that Kenyon Green, was a first-round pick, and they just thought so little of him that they didn't keep him, just to try to get more. But I guess that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, he got hurt too. I mean, not that it was going well before he got hurt, but once he got hurt, and Howie even said he ran out of time. I mean, can't make the club in the tub. That's what happened to Terrace Marshall at receiver. He was good for that early stretch, and Elijah Cooks was good for that mid stretch, and they both got hurt. Kenyon Green got hurt. If you don't practice.
Now, is Terrace Marshall a who was the man? I can't think of who's the guy from the Colts that the receiver.
Zach Pascal?
No, the guy they signed last year, Paris Campbell.
Oh, Paris Campbell.
Yeah, is he like a candidate to be the veteran guy on the practice squad?
Yeah, he's a candidate. I mean, those guys. It's always that they have opportunities elsewhere, which they might want to obviously look at before taking a practice squad spot. But yeah, I would think one of the two would be back when you talk about Marshall or Cooks. I would think one of the two would be back. And more likely, I would think Marshall would have more opportunities, but that's just speculation.
Now, Avery Williams got the Trey Sermon Award, where he got talked up in OTAs like he was going to be something.
Yeah. Oh, he's a manufactured touch guy. Yeah.
Not the dreaded Trey Sermon Award. You don't want to get that.
Yeah.
Right. You got talked about in OTAs like you were going to be part of something. And then
I love OTAs because, man, it's just, Vic cuts through all the crap. It's not football. It's not football. OTAs. It just is.
No, but was Darius Cooper at OTAs?
Yeah.
All right. So did he open anybody? Like, did anybody take notice of him?
No. At that time, we were all looking at Marshall and go, "Wow, yeah, okay. This guy's talented," and nobody was hurt. Elijah was hurt, but yeah. So I was just talking to Zander about that. That's why it's always so impressive for undrafted guys, because they don't get opportunities right away. Like, they have to fight through it, and usually our injuries are a part of it. And then you have to seize that opportunity. So he was more about camp and seizing that opportunity when those guys went down.
Yeah.
And he just kept playing better and better. And he got second team reps. And then AJ went down and he started getting some first team reps. And he took advantage of those opportunities. So yeah, it's really difficult for those guys. But in OTAs, nobody. I don't remember anybody talking about him.
The question about that would be, okay, he's a good story, undrafted. Everybody seems to like him. And then the season gets here and it's almost nearly impossible to step onto the field.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. Especially they're so deep and they're deeper now with Mechie. Their top three is ridiculous. I hope people notice how much Howie talked up Dotson. He had a great camp. He's a really
and
good
even
player.
Dotson. What's his ceiling? 40 catches?
Yeah, in this offense, I don't think it's tremendous volume, but I think he'll take advantage of whenever he does get an opportunity. Yeah. And maybe, I think if somebody misses a game, Devontae or AJ or two, he's better prepared. He and Jalen Hurts have a better chemistry. I think that'll.
Well, that's where they're better, is in the event that AJ or Devontae had to miss time, where in the past, if one of those guys goes out, it's been a disaster.
Oh, yeah. It's been when AJ doesn't
so you might not hear Darius Cooper's name all season long, but if there's a 2-week stretch where he has to play and he gets into a game, then possibly he could be productive.
Yeah, I don't know. He might help on special teams. I know they're working towards that, but you're not. He's not going to be relevant to the offense. To your point, right. I mean, that's sort of a multi-year thing if you can take advantage of it. I brought up Reed. Reed's the best example here of getting $5,000, nobody paying attention to him, and OTAs to, slowly working his way up the depth chart at safety. And all of a sudden, by the next year, he's taking first team reps and he's a starter. And now he's the leader of the secondary of the reigning Super Bowl champions.
Right. Now, if Johnny Wilson didn't get hurt, he would have made the team. Would Cooper have been bounced or somebody else?
I think they would have kept him I think they would have kept 6.
And then you think Kylan Granson would have been out, John?
It could have been Kylan, could have been Brett, could have been Trevor. Those
Right.
guys would be the most likely. And they could have last year they only kept 2 tight ends at the initial 53. They could have done it that way.
So
Certainly could have
Harrison
kept-
Bryant got cut.
Yeah. I'll bring that up for our great listener, JD, who's been preaching him. You know, he won the Mackey Award in college, Mike.
JD was calling for Howie to correct his wrongdoings and bring back the Mackey Award winner yesterday.
Now he's got a shot. Now he's got a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to go back to the question, I don't think anything really stood out. Nothing flashy, but I mean, obviously Howie was pretty adamant, as he's been before, that we'll do whatever it takes.
We're not done.
We're not
We're
done yet.
not done.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not done was obviously the eye-opening one. This is the initial 53, not the finished product. So where are those little peripheral edges that they are still trying to polish up a little bit? And, you know, you have from now until next week to figure it out.
If they do get somebody today
In the waiver, right?
which is difficult because they're 32 on the waiver wire, but they got one in 2018 after winning.
Somebody published the name, John. I forget where I saw it though.
Yeah, I got to look that up. But they did get one. I do recall that. Who's the 53rd guy on this roster in your mind?
That's an interesting question. Who would be
Who's the first guy to go? The first guy to go.
The least valuable guy. I guess, man, is it a battle between Keegan and Toth?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or Granson. I think that's an interesting one.
Granson would be the other guy, right? Because I can't see them, they like the defensive line rotational guys so much. Like, even if Gabe Hall will get how many snaps a game, you think what percentage of snaps does a guy like him get?
Well, to me, is it going to be Gabe Hall or Byron Young? I think
one of those two. Right.
Yeah, one of those two, and the other one.
Because I was going to say they would be the guys on the defensive side of the ball. The Keegans and the Toths of the defensive side would be one of those guys, and you're thinking, and the guy from Cleveland, Obu. Yeah. I mean, how many snaps is he legitimately getting in a game?
Ed Kratz impressed Howie with his pronunciation of Obo's last name. He was
Kratz
looking in the mirror trying to get that right.
Ed Kratz had an interesting article. I'm sure you guys discussed the Travon Walker trade.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, Ed's fueling that, man.
Well,
Ed with me on the Travon Walker? Let's go.
I've had a listener texting me in for like 2 years now about Travon Walker and his contract situation, and the Jaguars stink. And the trade, though, the only thing
trying to manifest it. Yeah.
Well, the fact that his contract and they picked up the 5th year and they're going to stink. Yeah, obviously that all kind of says you can make a call. But the trade that Ed threw out there was Kaylee Ringo, which obviously people were like so down on him. Fine, take him. But if you give up a first-round pick to get a player, you're essentially saying that guy's playing and he would bump Jalen Hunt. And
exactly. I tell you, I tell my Adrian Peterson story all the time because when I was covering Minnesota, they drafted Adrian. And I had Chester Taylor, who was a pretty good back for people that remember. He's coming off a 1,300-yard season, caught like 60 balls out of the back. Really good, solid player.
Yeah.
And Minnesota was bad at the time, getting a top 10 pick, obviously. And I asked one of the personnel guys, why you guys have a bunch of needs? Why are you taking a running back with Chester? And I didn't know how good Adrian Peterson was at the time. And he just looked at me dead serious and he said, fuck Chester Taylor. You don't understand. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. Yeah. And it wasn't an insult to Chester. It was like, Yeah, you don't understand how good this guy is.
Toledo Rockets, Chester
Yes,
Taylor.
Toledo Rockets.
Well,
And
that's what, and
very
that was.
good player.
So if you're getting up a first-round pick, there was also a third-round pick in there.
Like
as well.
my point of that is F. Jalix Hunt. Not it's like
yeah.
That's my point is if you're giving up a first-round pick, you're essentially saying Jalix Hunt, you're to the back of the line, buddy.
Well, not really. You're
He's
going
the
from 2 to
third
3.
man of the rotation.
Yeah, I think that's better.
I think everything.
I don't mean he's going to the end. Like I'm just saying.
Yeah, I got
you're
you.
moving behind, and by the way, Travon Walker and Jalix Hunt are the same age. I mean, they're only separated by about 100 days. So you're getting a 24-year-old kid who was the first overall pick of the draft with back-to-back 10-sack seasons. You're giving up a first-round pick in this proposed trade to get him. I would imagine he's getting a boatload of those snaps, and Jalix Hunt is becoming a much more part-time player.
I think everything falls into place. And by the way, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying Travon Walker is Adrian Peterson or Jalix Hunt is Chester Taylor, because they're not. It's a different level, but one's clearly better than the other. And to me, Travon, if you make that trade, everything falls into. He's your number one. Nolan falls to 2 where he should be, and Jalix falls to 3 where he should be. I think it's a home run trade from a football perspective, but all the other stuff is what makes it problematic. Jacksonville. I don't even know why does Jacksonville want to trade the guy?
Well, that's what I said. This guy's been, like I said, this guy's been peppering me with texts for 2. And then I see Kratz add fuel to this guy's fire. I'm like, what are you doing?
We've been fueling it here too. Well, because they gave up an extra first-round pick last year to move up to get Travis Hunter. They want more draft picks. It's a new regime. They didn't draft this player, and he's probably one of only 2 or 3 players on that roster, Mike, that if they traded right now, they would get a first-round pick back.
Well, listen, if I'm Jacksonville, you drafted defensive end number 1 overall. There's teams that have done this. Myles Garrett, you get these guys. They don't change your team. Like, your team sucks still. Right. Cleveland, you suck. You had the number 1 pick in the draft. You took a defensive end, and you suck. He's really good.
All of Maine defensive end.
Yes.
Myles Garrett.
And you've had other guys that maybe haven't been like J.J. Watt. Great player, defensive end, but didn't do anything to change Houston's fortunes when they had him. So if you're Jacksonville and you see all of that history, you say, we can afford to move on from him, because are we really re-signing this guy? And if we do, is it changing the dynamics of our organization? For Philadelphia, it's a different story. We've already got all the things you need. He's the guy that puts us over the top for a second Super Bowl potentially. That's a different story than what Jacksonville's dealing with, where they're trying to decide whether or not they want to re-sign this guy who hasn't helped them win anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and from the Eagles' perspective, also, they know their pick's going to be at the bottom of the first round. Right. So it makes it a little bit easier from that standpoint. But while I say that, I still don't think Howie wants to trade a first-round pick for him.
Well, I wouldn't think he wants to give up a first-round pick either, but he has, 13 picks, and he said, well, do whatever it takes, and we're not done. So I guess there would be a slim little gap.
Oh, yeah, there's a sliver.
By the way, he has all those extra thirds that he could potentially try to do something, to move himself back up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to look back at this time, though, guys, and say, oh, we waited till 2028 or 2027 to get an edge rusher, when you have this young core right now in the prime of many of their careers. Saquon, AJ, Devontae, Jalen Hurts, the offensive line with Lane Johnson still here. Like, this is the moment.
Well,
and the thing, now. I don't want an edge rusher in 2028. I want him right now.
The thing with Walker is, this is different from Trey Hendrickson and all the other names we heard. He's 24 years old.
Yes.
So he would be a guy that you could re-sign and keep him as part of this core. Not to mention he went to Georgia, so he could just hang out with all those guys.
Yeah,
they could talk about having
another Georgia guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that factors into it as well.
Well, on a more realistic scale, as John has brought me back to earth many times over this already this week, Mike, what do you think of a guy like an Arnold Ebiketie, who John's brought up from Atlanta, or somebody like that? I think he's a good player, but it's more in the marginal category where he might be a 2 or a 3 on this team, as opposed to coming in and, as John said, kind of everything falling into place. What do you think of a move like that?
Well, and the other guy that Ed mentioned in the article, Jalen Phillips, is a guy that you wouldn't have to give up nearly as much, and he's a lesser player than Travon Walker. The question is he a lesser player than Jalix Hunt, where he's the in the backseat and Hunt's still the other guy? And I guess the question we're all asking here, are we worried that Hunt is not ready for the task ahead of him here? Because if we think he is, I would say if you're going to go out and get somebody else, I mean, Ojulari and Uche obviously didn't show much. I was a big fan of them trying to go after Ojulari. He seemed like a perfect Eagles type of signing, guy who's been hurt but has been productive in the past. Are all those guys that you're mentioning similar to that level?
Well, Phillips, I think, is.
Well, not Phil.
I mean,
right.
he
is.
Yeah, he's significantly better. His problem is injuries.
He's been hurt so much. Yeah,
12 games in
which has been Ojulari's problem as well. He's been hurt a lot. But when Ojulari has played, he's been pretty productive.
No, he's not even in Jalen Phillips' orbit as he's Ojulari. I mean, Jalen Phillips is really good.
He's a very good player,
but he's hurt all the time over the past 2 years. So. That's the concern with a player like that. Ojulari.
And I guess the question, let's just hypothetically say Howie has Jacksonville on the hook. This would be something that Vic says, I need an improvement over what I have. That's why you make that call, right?
Yeah, well, I think, Vic's already in his ear, but Howie's going to do what Howie's going to do. I mean, he's trying to add an edge rusher. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
He's trying to add an edge rusher, meaning an impactful one or just another one?
Well, I think he needs to get better. He knows he needs to get better. So, I mean, you even heard the way he spoke. He spoke. It's very rare where Howie will admit that they're not good enough at a certain position. And he didn't exactly say that, but he said, he underhandedly said it by sometimes you do it with stars and sometimes you do it in a different way. Or I'm paraphrasing about the edge rushing room. Which we don't have any stars anymore on the edge. I think he called
yesterday,
them a bunch
there was
of
a question,
solid players.
There was a question. Who was it about? Ringo. I guess it was about Ringo. And he was like, I don't quite understand your question.
That was Brooks. I love Brooks to death. But nobody understands his questions. Nobody.
Well,
he needs an editor to shorten things.
Well,
when you have those guys' attention, you got to be direct and to the point. They're gonna.
He says why. He basically was asking. I think he was trying to ask how come Ringo basically didn't win the job, essentially, and Howie didn't want to come out and say he didn't win the job, but yeah. But that's to go to your point is like that area right there. He's basically coming out and saying, well, we really like him on special teams, and his roundabout way by saying, he's not good enough right now to win that job. So that job would be another interesting one this week. They're going to go into the season with Adoree Jackson lining up against, possibly CD Lamb. I wouldn't imagine all the time, but it's a possibility that could happen on Thursday night.
Yeah, well, you're going to see it because CD goes in the slot, and that's he's going to get matched up with Cooper
a lot,
which is fine. But you're going to see him move around.
Well, not to mention they got Pickens down there as well. So no matter what side CD's on, somebody's going to be in a spot or
that's your concern. But your hope is when Pickens gets the opportunity, he drops the football, which may be, not the most consistent receiver. But I did think it was interesting. And how he put a lot on the shoulders of Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo to help the edge rushers with that interior push. And maybe it works because those guys are good.
And Travon Walker would help.
Yes, he would. Yes, Mike, are you feeling any better about this defense as we stand on August 20th? If you remember a couple of months ago, Mike, we were in the heat of the offseason, and you came on here and dropped a nuclear bomb on our audience, and they were talking about that for weeks when you questioned Bond and Quinion and Cooper and your two players. Are you feeling any better about the defense right now?
Well, at that time, I'm saying we're all just assuming these guys are better or the same as what they were last year. There's no
which I do think was fair. I do think it was fair.
Yeah. I mean, now listen, Bond I don't know that he did anything to make me feel any better. He's been hurt. He hasn't done much. I mean, so I can't sit here and say I feel great about Zach Bond being better than he was a year ago. I'm not saying he won't be. I'm just, hey, it's not a fait accompli that all these guys are better. But I will say, even if those guys are the same or better, is Adoree Jackson better than Darius Slay? Is your safety spot better than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
No.
Is Jalix Hunt better than Josh Sweat?
No.
So all these questions, I think, are unanswered still. So do I feel better about the defense today than I did on February 8th? No, of course I don't. Now, that's not to say one of the things about last year's defense is they grew into the defense they became by the Super Bowl. They grew into that defense. They weren't that defense early in the year. You know, things happen. Vaughn came out like a gangbuster on that first game of the year down in Brazil, and then he came back to earth the next week, but then he kind of stayed steady and consistent. You get to Cooper DeJean, didn't get into the lineup until the fourth week of the season. They were a mess in that slot until he kind of solidified that place. Early on in the season, the safety position, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was not great or early in the season. So that's to say they grew into that defense. The question is, where does this defense start? And what's the ceiling that they can grow into with the personnel that they currently have?
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's going to have to be Jacorian Bennett at corner growing into that position. It's going to have to be Drew Makuba probably at safety growing into that. And then maybe you start to take off in the second half of the season. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform and YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe there. You got plenty of chances to listen to him, not only here, but 97.3 down the short, 97.5 up here in Philadelphia. When are you going to be doing the morning show?
Tomorrow, Friday, and Monday.
Do you ever get mixed up with 97.3 and 97.5? Because I do.
You know, I have not slipped up. I almost gave.
You're a pro.
Well,
I have to check myself.
I have not done the call letters wrong or the frequency wrong. Years ago when I worked on the Fanatic, this is back in 2014. This is back when like Twitter first started, and my Twitter handle was Mike Gill 973. So I would say that on the air, and the program director told me not to say it. So I had to keep switching it every weekend from Mike Gill 973, and then on the weekend it was Mike Gill 975. So that one was a little bit weird. But no, I have not.
Now you've gone to Mike Gill Show. Smart. At Mike Gill Show.
I've just gone. Everything's at Mike Gill Show. X, YouTube, Twitter. You can or X, Twitter, whatever. YouTube. You can get me off Mike Gill Show.
I'm with you on that, man. The social media platforms is too much. I need to hire somebody to just look at my social media.
I got to figure out Instagram at some point. I need an Instagram.
God, it's worth. No, God, don't even try. I'm telling you right now.
Well, N'Kobe's out there saying, "See you in week 5." So a lot of players.
I always Instagram is one that I'm not like. I have an Instagram, but and it's at Mike Gill.
I have one, but I don't know how to use it.
I don't know how to use it all that well in terms of like this, that, and what you got to do, reels, the difference between a story and a reel, and this, that, the other thing. But I do have good content when I do put it out.
Yeah, it's too much for me. Too much.
Good stuff. Mike, appreciate you doing it today, brother. Happy you made it home from your travels safely. It's going to be another good season, and we appreciate having you on here on Birds 365. Great stuff, my friend. We'll talk to you again
next week. At least we'll be previewing that actual game. Like the fact that we just talked about who's matching up with CD and Pickens just felt good in my soul.
There you go. All right, I love it.
Yeah.
Mike,
by the way, real quick, business on air. I might be a little late today. Eagles are practicing at 2:30 because of the practice squad, so I don't know when they're wrapping up. Might be a few minutes late, so keep that in mind.
I'll have my producer reach out.
All right,
you guys can connect.
Thank you, Mike. See you, brother. There's my John. You just got the. I'll have my people. I'll have my people call your people. Message from Gill. You gotta love it. Good stuff there from Mike Gill. Good to hear him being back safe from the vacation. Eagles got a pretty good roster, John. 53-man initial comes down yesterday, and we're going to see what else Howie has in the docket. Now, I know we've talked about the Travon Walker trade, and I do understand that it is far-fetched at this point. I want them to do it, but I'm understanding of it being far-fetched. But I think Howie's making a move, John. I think he's making a move, and I think it's going to be bigger than they've been so far this summer. Bigger than the likes of a Jacorian Bennett or.
What, by the way, I meant to ask that to Mike. What do you think people are out on? Like, what happened to Jacorian? What is Jacorian?
Well, I'm not
Bennett
out on him, but what did they trade for him that would show you it was a substantive move other than a fourth defensive tackle? I mean, I like Thomas Booker, but we're talking about a one for Travon.
I think Thomas Booker's was a legit player, a legit part of the team. I think it was clearly more valuable than the other trades they made and they've made quite a few of them by a pretty significant margin. And not to say I'm not trying to say he's going to turn into the starting corner. That's obviously the plan. And he'll have his opportunity, but I'm just surprised. Like, usually when the Eagles get a player, it's all peaches and cream, and he's the next Deion Sanders. That's what they said about Isaiah Rodgers. Is like they were acting like Isaiah Rodgers was an all-pro coming off a gambling suspension, off 400 snaps that were pretty effective in Indianapolis. And obviously, Isaiah played well last year, and now is a starting corner in this league. But I'm just talking about that initial. This guy's the same exact thing. Great athlete, a little bit better size than Isaiah. Played really well in about 400 snaps for a team that nobody knows about. I'm just surprised at how many. Oh no, that's not good. I'm just surprised that the initial bump is not there for Jacorian Bennett. Sometimes I don't understand it, so I'm looking for an explanation.
We'll see what they end up doing, Johnny Mac. I hear you, brother. Let's see. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. We're going to have Brandon Lee Goutman coming on, John, in a little bit. I'm looking forward to talking to BLG. He always has a good take on when things like this happen. So I can't wait to hear what his initial reaction is to the initial 53-man roster. We'll see how many more changes are coming. Are you expecting any big changes today from the 53 they released yesterday?
I'm expecting a move or two, yes. How big they are, I don't think it's necessarily going to be big. Like I said, if they get anybody on the waiver wire, it's going to be a fringe upgrade.
Well, they won't do anything with Hewlett yet, right? They can kind of wait on him, can't they?
No, I think they're going to add him to the practice squad today.
Yeah,
and
right.
They're gonna elevate him for the first 2 or 3 games. They have 3 games, so some of the times there's an injury earlier, and they might elevate him earlier to the 53 man. But they have 3 games to play with before. Obviously, you have to add the long snapper to the 53 at some point. Yeah, so I think he'll be back to the practice squad today.
Good stuff. We'll see what ends up happening with it. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Any super chat? No super chats. All super chats will go to the top if you have them today. You can drop them in here on the show. We appreciate all of our great viewers for being here today. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. All right, we cover the Eagles all day, every day, morning, noon, and night. Every week of the year, every month of the year for you here on this channel. So we appreciate all of our great viewership. Hit that like button. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this 53-man roster, a little preview into the future of what's to come 8 days from now with the banner drop, Eagles versus Cowboys, and then Brandon Lee Goutman coming up next in hour number 2. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back in 3 minutes.